Hello and welcome to this very special Pride Month edition of Diary of a Name Dropper. I think we're going to delve straight in because we've got so much to chat about. But this episode is with my co-host, my podcast friend, my live radio comrade, the one and only Stephen Carter-Bailey, off of Bake Off. I am very excited about my guest today. Well, I would say excited, probably a bit nervous because I might get a roasting, and that's not because he's a TV baker. It's because we're very good friends and we've done lots of jobs together, and he knows where all the bodies are buried. So I'm bracing myself but welcoming you with open arms, Stephen Carter-Bailey.
Good. Hello.
Good.
Good. I was going to say
God.
Good God. I was listening to that, and I was going to protest at a couple of points, but I thought, no, she's quite right.
You were going to say good because you thought we were on a radio show because we met. I mean, I was a massive fan because of Bake Off. We'll get to that. But we met. We were at a local radio station, and I've said about that the better. But we used to present a couple of shows together. Collaborate.
Yeah. We did. We were great together. We both had our own independent shows, which were fantastic, and it got us. It sort of put us on the map, and then we worked together a couple of times, and a couple of them were they were all live.
Yes, the bake-alongs.
It was the bake-alongs that were my favourite because I always thought I was quite tolerant. And patient.
Now, careful because of your career.
No, I am quite tolerant and patient. I am a teacher by trade. It's one finger that I have in one of my parties. I'm a teacher, baking and decorating teacher. And I always thought I was tolerant because I meet some people who have no idea what they're doing. And then I met you. And I've never met somebody so catastrophically calamitous in the kitchen. It's not the inability to, it's just that you get bored.
Can't stick to the plan.
No, and just wander off. You've sort of stopped mixing something to take a picture of it for Instagram. It's a stress that I only put myself through once a year.
And you don't even know the backstory of the dramas that have, taken place literally 30 seconds prior to going live, such as Max, my dog, who's completely in love with Stephen, who was so upset that he couldn't be part of the Bake Off.
Well, it wasn't his show. It wasn't the Max show.
It wasn't the Max show. Dirty protest all over my brand new bed.
Yes, ex-husband's calling you. And
ex-husband's calling me every name under the sun. And, but we pulled it off.
It was the sort of the smooth transition from screaming banshees to good afternoon and welcome to this fantastic live edition. And I think, do you know what? I think it's testament to us as broadcasters how we handle it. I think we do sort of, we have this sort of
fight or flight.
I was going to say the show must go on, but yeah, fight or flight is probably more appropriate.
I mean, we are very, very lucky. We do have producer Jeremy on hand who makes us sound very, very good.
Patience of a saint.
Yeah. But with live radio, you can't actually edit anything. And that's how we found ourselves redundant.
That's how we got sacked from volunteer roles.
Well, you didn't, to be clear.
No, I didn't, because I have a penis, but we know that. It's not what I did with it, it's just the fact that I had one. But...
Yes, exactly. And I had an opinion.
Yes, and a vagina. So yes. You were out.
Yes.
She's gone.
It was such an honour baking with you because I know we're good friends now and we're neighbours, but I was such a big fan of yours. You were probably my favourite contestant, but even more, my daughter, who hates everyone, that's really mean.
Especially you.
Yes.
No, she really does.
Was completely besotted by you. I mean, it was my first it was sort of you and Leonardo DiCaprio. It was sort of, I love him. really cross when you didn't win.
Yeah,
and yours was the year Prue announced it as well.
That was my favourite. That was my favourite call. I was out to lunch. I just signed with my agent. We were having celebratory lunch, and the producer of the Bake Off called and said Prue's tweeted the winner, and I went okie dokie and hung up. Because I just love this is what I love about showbiz and celebrity and this world that I'm sure people think is incredible. It's not. It's just a shit show. It's of mistakes, and there's always some poor person at the other end trying to fix it. I did attract lots of different groups of people. I think people struggled with me because I was so determined and focused, not to win, but just to finish each episode. I genuinely just wanted to finish. I was so frightened of looking like a fool that I focused more on what I was doing. So I didn't give off a lot in the show. And I think I gave off a few tidbits. And I only found out the other day, Americans love the one line I said to Sandy. We were talking about one of the recipes, and I said it's an alcoholic fruit tart with a lattice top. It sounds like the perfect drag queen.
That does sound like the perfect drag queen. That's absolutely brilliant.
It was, but that was my style, and I do it with you. I don't seek attention. I'm not. I genuinely. I know people are going to laugh. People that know me are going to laugh at this. I'm not an attention seeker. I don't seek attention. I'm focused on baking because it's my love and my passion, but every now and then you'll just get a tidbit of sarcasm from me, and that was my style. And so I resonated with certain people. I was never going to be a Love Islander. I don't think people were obsessed with my aesthetic. I think they just thought he's a bit quiet.
I think honestly, I didn't think you were gay to begin with, and I thought, God, this is like the perfect man. He's just really chilled and got a really dry sense of humour, and well, of course, the perfect man is gay, but but my daughter was like, "Oh, I really love him. I love him so much." She didn't at any point think, "Oh, this is because I do think gay contestants, you usually know they are." I think a lot of them do give off a very strong vibe, and obviously the first thing people do is they search social media, and you'll get sort of strong vibes. I didn't have anything on there that gave anything away. I'm a private person. I think what people are surprised at with me is I keep 90% of my life away from social media because it's mine. It's not exciting, and I can go through my daily schedule to prove that it's not exciting, but it's mine and it's private because I need that. But I realised I didn't have anything on my social media that sort of spoke about me, and I think it's important that I did put that up there. So I started sharing things. There was stuff in the papers. Obviously, the press got hold of lots of bits and pieces and made their own assumptions. Then there was a rumour that I was sleeping with one of the other contestants, another woman, which we were laughing at. People will take what they want, and unless you fill in the blanks for people, then they will make their own assumptions. So I thought, well, I know I don't owe anybody an explanation, but I'll do, I'll sort of put some fires out, and I sort of leave it there. Well, and I mean, you being gay hasn't waned Amelia's love for you either.
Oh no, we're still going to marry.
Yes.
I mean, I do want the Jewish Greek wife, quite frankly, and she wants the gay husband.
That's exactly what she wants.
Yeah.
You then went on to win. So you didn't win. You were on. Remind me what season you were on. It was 2017, 2018?
So in the UK, I was season 8, which was 2017. And I was, I came second. I was runner-up in the main series. And then I went back and did the New Year's Day special, which aired New Year's Day 2019. And I won that. That was the one I won.
Making Stollen.
Stollen, yes. With marzipan.
But your thing was those illusion cakes, like handbags and sandwiches and like nuts.
It was, I suppose, for me, I've always been... you and I are both creatives, and I struggled for many years to find a way in which I could express my creativity, and I discovered it in cake and illusion cakes, and I loved them. I think there are some incredible artists out there, cake artists out there, and I'm one of them, but I love just building something that makes people's jaw drop. And I stole the show in episode 1 and 2 with my illusions, and I never realised it was. I thought everybody did it. I thought all bakers did it, but they
no
didn't.
one had done it. It was, and you did something with jelly as well.
Yes, I did the Stars and Stripes, the American flag.
It's incredible.
I'm known for. I'm the loaf of bread cake boy, which is a long name. People just use that bake off, but loaf of bread cake boy is my trademark, my calling card, or the biscuit chess set, or bread handbag.
That could be a drag queen as well.
Yeah, biscuit chess set. No, if my drag queen name would be Pantry Ho.
Yeah,
I like that. I suppose I put style up there and substance lacked occasionally. That's where I struggle. Paul always said, style over substance.
But your cakes are phenomenal.
But I took that. If there was one piece of advice I took from Paul Hollywood, it was, substance is equal to the style, or should be. So, I made sure going forward.
But Judy taught you the substance. You'd been baking.
Mum.
You'd been baking, with the queen.
Well, she is. She's the queen of the kitchen. And we are still... We're there for one another. We reference one another before we Google anything. We'll say, "I want to do this. Have you tried this?" And we'll research it together. But I think what Judy taught me most importantly, Judy's my mother, by the way, if anyone's not sure. Most importantly, was confidence in the kitchen. Now, she's not a very confident person like me and like some other members of my family. We struggle with confidence. It's just who we are as people. But she in the kitchen is the most chilled person you'll meet. Nothing phases her. Nothing. If I said, "Mum, lobster thermidor, go for it," she'd try it, but she would be relaxed about it, and that's why she succeeds, because it doesn't faze her. And that's what I was fascinated about. What fascinated me about her as a child was that she was catering. She was at any one point she was working 1, 2 or 3 jobs. She was raising 4 children. She was cooking on a budget, and I mean a real budget, not this nonsense nowadays. I mean a real budget, £10 a week for 4 kids, which is, it's not a lot in terms when we grew up.
Criminal, yeah.
Yeah. So that's real budgeting. That's budgeting with fear. So you learn. She taught me everything in terms of the basics and the confidence to just try something and don't fear it. And then I added in the rest. I think the rest was just homosexuality shining through.
But it's her baking that made you love baking. But there something must have happened for you to end up on Bake Off. I mean, what someone must say at one point, because I don't care what Paul Hollywood said. I think your cakes were probably absolutely spectacular, and I think he was just being harsh because you were so good. And because I've had your Black Forest, that was the cake that made my husband fall in love with you. The Black Forest Gatto, which was just, I've never tasted anything quite like it. But you must have been baking exceptionally beautiful cakes, not just, sculptures. For someone to say, "Oh, you should go on this," because you don't just knock up sculptures every weekend. You must
I do now, but
now you do.
Yeah.
But you must have just been baking normal cakes for people, so they must have tasted incredible. For people to say you should go on Bake Off.
I mean, in terms of the way it started,
you know what I mean?
No, it started in the kitchen baking cakes. We learned from Delia Smith, Mary Berry, of course. Prue Leith was another. Mum had about 4 or 5 of her books. Sophie Grigson was another one. Nigella Lawson, the Harry Bikers. These were my inspiration growing up, and that to me, all of them would do good, classic, solid food with beautiful flavours, and I loved doing that, and I didn't stray too far from classics. Coffee and walnut, banana cake. Then I started going down the route of designer cakes. My first designer cake was my sister's baby shower cake for her first child. Oscar will be 15 this year. So around 15 years ago, I did this first cake. And not only did people love it, I loved doing it. And I honed this sort of skill. I tried different things. I remember I made a rugby ball. It took me hours. I mean, we're talking 20 hours to make a cake.
But how long do you get in the Bake Off tent on average?
4 for a showstopper. Bearing in mind, you've got to be filmed, doing it. And so I honed this talent, I honed this skill, and I started thoroughly enjoying it. And I suppose I still always reverted to classic bakes, bread, focaccia is a classic and a favourite. Anything stuffed, I enjoy anything stuffed. And then obviously I applied to season 1 and 2, which was BBC, didn't get through, and left it for years. And got to season 8, they moved to Channel 4. They got the new presenters and new judges, and I thought, sod it, try it again. And 3 months later, I literally put in the application. I was drunk in Sweden on holiday at New Year's, looking at the Aurora Borealis, and I pressed send on this application. And 3 months later, I stood in the tent going, "What the fuck is that all about?" So my rule in life is always do something, always try. Just keep at it, visualize it, manifest it. It will happen. And I suppose in doing that, in that process of practice in the tent, because you learn more in those 12 weeks than I did in my 34 previous years. I started appreciating adding flavour, complementing flavour. So nowadays, if I do a lemon and blueberry cake, it is a lemon-infused sponge with a salted blueberry and cassis reduction. And I know it sounds really bougie. It's so simple. If I can't get it in a supermarket, I don't make it. But that's how I do flavours now. I really complement flavours. I add flavour. Anywhere I can get flavour in, I will add it in. And that's how I succeed at baking now, is I take it and I turn the volume up a little bit and, take it to that next level. But it comes from love. Yeah. I do it because I love it. That's why it does. I don't stress. When I see you enjoying something, I think, well, I don't understand why you're making such a big deal, because it's just a cake. But for some people who have grown up on cakes, from a supermarket, we're used to it. And I'm not going to name Mr. K and his cakes, but that's what we're used to. Yeah. But I and lots of other people say, no. You need better ingredients and you need better flavours, and you just get more flavour in there. And so
buttermilk, we were talking about buttermilk today,
yes, it's the most underused, underrated ingredient. Yeah, put it in mashed potato with cheese and mustard. Oh my goodness, it will awaken your soul. And so that's what frustrates me, is I think we're still a bit nervous about adding in flavour.
You sort of talk about the pressure in the tent, and you spoke about your mum sort of throw anything at her, and it's her zen place. Do you think that clearly this pressurized hyper focus is actually your therapy, and you thrive on it?
Yeah, you and I both know with our ADHD that our brain, it's not a disorder. And I want to. I just want to make that a point. It's not a disorder. It's a different mapping of the brain. So some brains are mapped to be focused and calm and centred and able to concentrate on one thing at a time. Our brains are mapped differently, so we're better creatives and better hands-on. And so for me, my struggles were outside of the tent, where I had to think and create and write and be structured and look after myself. Feels like work then, doesn't it? Yeah, it did. Genuinely felt like a second job. As soon as I was in that tent, and when Noel and Sam, or whoever, said ready, steady, bake, you could hear my brain go zoom. I'd shut off all noise and I focused.
So how do you cope when they talk to you?
Well, I had the most fantastic story producer. He's the loveliest guy, Luke. I love him. He's just fantastic. And I knew the moment I met him, I asked for him, and there was another lady called Jenna, who they're both now producers of the show. And I explained myself, and I think they understood me immediately. I got on with them. I made friends with all the runners, all the stuff from the editors and the owner of Love Productions, right down to the people washing up. Make friends with them, look after them, be kind to them, be polite, because they are the people that will make you look good. And they are the people that will help you. And I said to both Jenna and Luke, this is how my brain works. I need to focus and I need to hyper-focus on what I'm doing. But I understand you've got a show to produce. So what I'm saying to you is, you give me 1 minute warning and I will orchestrate something for me to do whilst I can talk to you. So I'm working, I'm chopping, I'm chatting, and I'm still engaging with Paul and Prue and Noel and Sandy. We had that agreement from the start. I respected the fact that they had a job to do, and they respected the fact that I was busy, and we worked well together. And that's
they give you a heads up.
Yeah, just even 30 seconds. Or Luke would come up to me during bread week and say, Paul wants to come up to you. And I say, okay, I'm just putting this in the oven, but I've got to knead that dough, which is a 10-minute solitary job. He said, come over while I'm doing that. Don't come over while I'm trying to, flambe an onion or something. we worked well together, and it was mutual respect, and that's, I suppose, that's how I succeed in anything I do, is respect that everybody that's pulling a salary out of this is, needs something from you, and it's always worked.
It was my favourite season, though. I mean, you were hysterically funny. You were a lot more than just drag queen names. I mean, there was Toasted Nuts and
Hot Nut in the Face.
Hot Nut in the Face. And I mean, there were so many double entendres. And I know with you, it's not contrived.
No.
What's so funny. Because you then know, as when you say it, you're like, oh, but it's brilliant because Channel 4 and Noel Fielding there was a lot edited out, wasn't there, between you and Noel Fielding?
98% of what was said between it was beyond inappropriate, and not even for late night Channel 4. It wasn't even Eurotrash said no. No, we had a great time, he and I, but and not a lot went in. No, the double entendres were genuinely, and I mean the Hot Nut in the Face, I was that innocent. I didn't even know it was a thing.
It to do with monkey nuts or something?
No, I was caramelising hazelnuts, and I said to the camera, "Oh, stand back! Nobody wants a hot nut in the face." I didn't know. This is how innocent I am. Talk about growing up in the countryside. I didn't know that a hot nut meant being bukakied in the face.
I didn't know that until now. I guess probably most of my listeners. I was just thinking nuts.
Until Twitter exploded that night on the night the episode aired, and I remember sitting there and thinking, I still don't understand. I had to use Urban Dictionary. And I went, oh, that's dirty.
So hot nut means bukkake.
It means to nut means to ejaculate.
Oh, right, okay.
And of course, because it's traditionally body temperature.
Yes, of course, yes, I've got
it's
it
a hot
right.
nut.
Yes,
so I genuinely was talking about a caramelised.
We're going to have to put a
hazelnut.
disclaimer in the show notes. Contains triggering conversations of bukkake.
Some people might find content offensive, but there were other times as well. I mean, I will say things, but this is the beauty of the story producers. I was flirting with them, and I use that term loosely. I was flirting with them because they got from me what they wanted, and we would talk about. I remember Luke, when I filmed the New Year's Day episode, was saying, "What is that?" And I said, "It's caramel, salted caramel, cinnamon caramel, buttercream." And I remember him saying, "What do you want to do with it?" And I knew that he was trying to get a reaction. I went, "I just want to take all my clothes off and use it as shower gel." And of course, the public don't hear him; they just hear me. And so I was typecast as a slut, basically, food slut. So yeah, I mean, some of it is, most of it is genuinely innocent because I'm a country boy at heart.
You are.
I'm a good little church-going boy.
Well, I want to come to this because I've watched a lot of things on Mormons. There's the Sky thing, A Big Love, which is a dramatisation of Mormons in Utah, polygamy. And it's very enjoyable, but it is a dramatisation with Chloe Sevigny. But there's a few things on Netflix, but I'm currently watching, and I know you're watching it. Now, I'm trying to remember what it's called. Is it Eat, Pray, Sweet, Keep Sweet?
Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey.
Now, you grew up a Mormon.
I did.
But these guys, we need to explain, no one is...
So we were LDS. So we were Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS. They are the FLDS, which is a fundamentalist.
LDS.
Yo, LDS.
Sorry, I'm dissing the Mormons, but I don't think many will be listening to my podcast.
No, and I think any Mormon that is listening will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, I grew up Mormon. It was because of the Osmonds. It's a long story, but
is that literally?
It's
why?
genuinely it. Yeah, genuinely.
I love that.
But my mum married into the Mormon faith. So it was her second marriage, and it was part of the deal. He got two kids. Mum got Mormonism,
and 4 million kids.
Yeah, so it was relatively.
It's not quite like it is in Utah, is it? Here?
No. With Brits, we're far too cynical. We don't go for the whole lot, but we still do tithing, which is 10% of all earnings go to the church, and that's even I used to get £1 a week pocket money and 10 pence had to go to the tithings jar. So from a young age, I knew it was corrupt. But I grew up...
and you knew that women were the lesser,
objects.
They were there to serve.
They were their objects, yeah. They were lesser than the man. I think we joined... I would have been about 3 to 14. I left the church at 14.
When you say you left the church, was that your family left the church, or you... because you see these kids breaking away and they're kind of shunned from the community. I mean, nothing as dramatic as that, was it? No,
it's not like that, because there isn't a huge Mormon community over here anyway. In comparison, I mean, in America there are, like Utah, Salt Lake City, and some parts of Texas and Arizona, where it's entire towns. You're talking tens of thousands of people. Whereas it was quite small here. It still is quite small in terms of a faith and a following. But inside the circle of the Mormon Church, you are part of a big group, a big family. We would holiday together. Obviously, my family were Mormon.
You went to Mormon camp, didn't you?
I did go to Mormon camp every year, camping, usually in the Brecon Beacons.
Stephen and I do a podcast together, for those of you that don't know. And Stephen announced one episode to...
It was the nonchalance behind it, wasn't it, that horrified you. I went to Mormon camp, but the problem I found with Mormons is we're quite insular people in that we cut ourselves off from outside society because it's full of so many sins like caffeine, alcohol, cigarettes, and homosexuality. Oh yeah, can't have any caffeine.
Oh my God,
nothing.
you went wild coming out.
I was literally sucking dick in a Coke bottle. No, it wasn't that bad. But because of that, you'd often find characters that struggled to integrate into society and struggled with socio-normalised behaviours. And there was one boy called Peter, and I hated being paired with Peter. So we often ended up in tents together. You were just sort of bundled into tents. And I remember I begged, I don't want to go to Mormon camp with Peter. Because
what did Peter wear?
A suit. Everywhere. He wore a suit everywhere. Most Mormons do, and I'm not even joking. Most Mormons wear a suit everywhere. Peter was my age, a child that used to wear a suit everywhere.
What were you in your Mormon camp t-shirt?
I was no. I was
your 80s camp outfit.
I was probably in like a Goonies t-shirt and some short shorts, high top sneakers and some knee-high socks. I desperately didn't want to be with Peter. I just remember him being so inappropriate because he was. Peter would like to show you his bum hole. I don't think it was sexual. I think it was a dominance, like a primate thing.
Did you report it to the elders?
Oh, they wouldn't have done anything. Well, I was also I was terrified of being outed. Like that, if they thought that Peter was showing, if I said Peter showing me his bum hole, they'd probably think that I lured him into doing it because I'm a child of sin. And I was.
I shouldn't. Well, no,
sorry, I didn't.
It's the way you tell it, and this has been a story.
I wanted to get to the celestial kingdom with my family. That was my goal in life. That's why I didn't sin much as a child. But I cottoned on very quickly that it was a load of claptrap, and I wasn't interested. It didn't do anything for me. My mum had broken away from the church because she had an ounce of sense. My sister was never really in the church. I mean, I think the girl was doing shots as they baptised her. So it meant nothing to me, and I won't mock it because it's for some people it's their life, but for me because it's controlling and coercive, I reject it entirely.
Seems to serve just one person as well, kind of.
A white man.
Yes.
A group of white... No, genuinely. It serves a group of white men, the elders who make the decisions for everybody. I mean, the simple fact that they only allowed black people to join the church in 1978 suggests... Yeah, it's so wrong.
And I'm sure you still can't be gay.
No, you can't be gay. I could be gay, but I still had to marry a woman and have children.
No.
Yeah, because the only way I was ever going to get to heaven
was to produce children for God.
To have a wife and have children, a lot of them. That was the only way I was going to get it. And so...
But there's no polygamists in the UK, or are there polygamists in the UK, or was that just Utah?
I mean, legally you can't. Legally you can't in the eyes of the government or in the eyes of the law. You physically can't, but that doesn't mean you can't have more than one wife in the eyes of God, but in the eyes of God, in the Mormon faith, that's all that matters to them. Well, there were families of sort of 6 to 7 children where 2 of them looked suspiciously like the au pair, in inverted commas. So I'm sure it did. But I mean, we were one of the smallest families. We were only 4 kids. And
but you're watching this documentary, aren't you?
I am watching it. I find it triggering more so because there were so many times that my life could have changed because of that church. We nearly moved to Utah. I could have been forced into a marriage. Not if it's forced, but it would have been a marriage that I knew would have been wrong. I would have been married at around, I would have gone on a mission at 18 to 20. So I would have been married at 20. My wife would have probably been no older than 18 or 19. And the first thing that would happen is that we would have children. And it happened to a lot of people that I went to church with.
So there's lots of gay men in,
Oh, I know for
marriages.
A fact there are. Yeah, I know for a fact there are. And that's the worst part.
I mean, you don't have to be a Mormon to be a gay man and get married. I mean, that unfortunately a lot of people feel they have to do whatever
but
God says.
I watched this. I mean, I was not fundamentalist. I was just LDS. So we didn't practice polygamy as such. And as far as I know, there were no girls forced into an underage marriage and sexually abused, raped, and but they were children. They were 14-year-old girls raped by you're being raped by a paedophile. It's got nothing to do with God.
You've got to marry like an 80-year-old man because you're told they're the prophet and they're never going to die, and then a week later they keel over.
Yeah, and then another prophet joins and then takes the wives and rapes them, and it's This is this documentary. It's horrifying. This isn't your Mormon gang. Just to be very clear, this is the FDL. FLDS. FLDS. Yeah, sorry. I'm agnostic. I'd like to point out. I'm not an atheist. I absolutely respect beliefs. I really do, and I think faith is so important for some people because it gives for everyone, and it gives hope. Faith and hope we should all have. But what we choose to believe in and use as our moral compass is down to the individual. But I would never mock a faith. No, I don't mock a faith. I mean, I know we've done a pretty good job of mocking the Mormons, but... Just don't show me a bumhole. Moving swiftly onwards. I've yet to see the Book of Mormon. You have to see it. I know, it's my kid's favourite show. It's my. Because I know you love it. Yeah, nothing I say will come close to what that show does. No, it's exactly. Glorious. That's the thing. You think we're being harsh. You should literally see one of the top stage plays in the West End for the last however many years. I mean, I've seen it 3 times and I've laughed hard at each time. It's glorious. Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant. But I think they should have one for every religion. I genuinely do. I think religion needs to we've got Fiddler on the Roof. Well, that was the original name for the Book of Mormon, but they couldn't accuse them of doing that. Talking of West End, because we could literally wax lyrical for hours, and you can listen to us on our podcast as well. If you want to hear more about Peter and his bumhole. Lots more. I think we made you discuss it. Talking of at length on every show, but talking of West End, I want to ask you, because I love it. I know that you love it when people say, who's the most famous person in your phone book? Who have you done a cake for? But I have schlepped a cake to stage door for the most wonderful Miss Tracy Ann Oberman when she was in the Windsors. That was fucking phenomenal. I loved that. I loved the attention we got on the train and everything. It was just brilliant. And dropping it off and everything, and how happy you made all the cast, and they were like, oh my God, thank you so much, your cake was so lovely. But you're not very good at blowing your own trumpet when it comes to people's cakes you've made. But you made Captain Tom's 100th birthday cake. Mm-hmm. That's being all low key. Jazz hands. Jazz hands. I could. That's mega. That's like mega. I could be better at self PR. I have to admit. I think some of it is. I struggle to self promote. I don't like big, brash, bold announcements. You know me. I frustrate you because I don't do it enough. Well, I do the Jewish mother thing. This is my friend. He won Bake Off, and he's made a cake for Sir Ian McKellen. Yeah.
That's my gambit. And he hates Mormon camp.
And surprisingly, he's a fan of bumholes, despite what's...
Peter put him through.
He's such a precedent. I don't blow my own trumpet because to me, I suppose I struggle with false celebrity, and I'm not going to start attacking reality TV stars because I am one. I think you have to contribute something to the pot before you can start taking out certain words like celebrity and calling yourself a celebrity or, a contributor to the arts, when I know I'm contributing, and I try to do charity work in order to create more balance. But yeah, cakes that I've made for celebrities, you could honestly not realise I've done them because I don't say much about it.
And you've got a big Instagram. I mean, I would say coming out of Bake Off, but you can see, you can see who's got longevity. They've got the blue ticks. They've got the huge following. You do put them on there every so often, but you don't. Go on, Go on, give me your best. You can't, but you can. You're going to have to.
My best cake. That I've
done. Your best celebrity cake commission you've done.
I think my favourite. I think my favourite is Jade Thirlwall from Little Mix, because she's a friend and I love her. I love her. I'd have her tattooed on my arm. I do love her. I think she was my most fun because she's a member of the world's biggest girl band, and she is iconic in style, in music, in charity, in philanthropy. She is world class, iconic, beautiful visually and inside. She's a home girl. She's just everything about her I adore and I love. But yet she loves a cake.
Loves a cake.
She loves a cake and she loves baking. Her mum taught her to make pies. And I love that about her because she is, at heart, she's just a girl who loves a cake. And whenever I see her, and she's always fabulous.
Because you met on the Channel 4 Pride thingy, didn't you? I love the story.
We met,
is that how you met? You met loads of fabulous people on that day.
Yeah, we met.
You don't remember it, but apparently you do.
I was so shit-faced at Pride. So I met Sam Smith. I have no recollection of doing it. We met at Channel 4 Pride, but then I met her again. Must have been, Channel 4 Pride. But then I went to her party and I did her. It would have been her 27th birthday cake. And she always does a big party every year at New Year's, which was on her birthdays. And I loved making the cake because she was so excited that she was getting a birthday cake. This is Little Mix.
Yeah.
She's 1/3 of Little Mix, and she was excited that I was making her a cake. And so those are the ones that I love. Those are the ones that really tickle me, because no matter how big they get, how incredibly famous these people are, and how so far out of reach they can appear to be, she was so excited to be getting a cake for her birthday. And I thought that was beautiful.
But it is so lovely.
Yeah, it was. And it was a lovely cake.
You've done me a cake and it's so lovely. And Jeremy cried when you made him his cake.
I love making cakes for people. I suppose for me, it's more about the cake and the person.
What is your favourite cake you've made? I should ask. I shouldn't just be shallow and ask about your favourite.
What flavour?
Well, just your favourite cake in the world. If someone said you've got to make one more cake before you die, which cake would you make?
Oh, my goodness. I'd make a gluten-free chocolate cake for me and my mum, because we're gluten-free. And I love it. I love it because it's such a delicious recipe. But, I mean, in terms of design, I don't know. I'd make them all. It's so... Cake is my language. I speak. That's how I communicate. That's how I love. That's how I buy things. I trade cake.
Buy friends and influence.
Genuinely do. Honestly, I do.
I got some lovely cookies for my birthday. I was very touched.
That's
probably how laced with arsenic.
I've been looking a bit pale recently. I tell people I love them. To me, that I wanted to buy you something that I knew you'd love, but I wanted to also give you something that I had made, because
you couldn't top my flamingo bag from Fancy That.
No. That was the
So
highlight
once
of your
you'd given me
birthday.
my flamingo bag from Fancy That, everything else I was just being polite about.
Yeah, that was it. It was just
But they were beautiful biscuits.
That's all I want, is for people to have something made by my fair hand. And that's when I do a celebrity cake, I'm always honoured when I get asked to do them. And I love doing them. And I love it when celebs get excited, because it reminds me that they're human and that we're all 6 years old.
We
we
regress to being a child.
Yes,
I can still remember my favourite ever birthday cake, and I think my mum got it for me 3 years running. I think she used to pick it up from a baker's on the Strand, because she worked on the Strand, and it was 3 pink mice in a double bed, but it was like the most 70s chintzy duvet, and it was probably just a basic vanilla sponge, as they all were back then. And I remember the good old hedgehog chocolate cakes with Cadbury's fingers,
Yeah, Cadbury's fingers or matchsticks, if it was around that time. But that's what I love.
I made
people
you
remember.
one.
Yes, you did. It was horrifying. It tasted delicious, but it was horrifying to look at. Honestly, it looked like the embodiment of the devil. That haunted me for a couple of weeks, actually.
You didn't want it by the bed in case you opened your eyes.
I didn't take it home. No, I didn't take it home. I cut it up and took it home in plastic Tupperware.
To make sure it couldn't kill you.
And I left the head here. For me, what I love is... nowadays is people say, when I was little I had this cake, and I just, the cake was shit, but it tasted shit and it looked good. So my aim now is to make the cakes delicious regardless of what they look like. So if I make a cake that looks like a pair of Dr. Martens, if it's going to taste like a pina colada, it will taste like a pina colada. And I think
I don't understand people that eat fondant though.
Well, I don't, and
it's just sugar, isn't it?
My friend Sarah
Jeremy
does.
loves fondant.
Yeah,
on a wedding cake, I have to take that off.
It's a bit much for me. It's still a bit much for me.
And
it's
that's
too much
royal
sugar.
icing. That's different. But like when you see these amazing cakes, which are, like your illusion loaf of bread and the sandwich and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't want to eat the fondant. Would you? I mean, they do. The judges do.
It's edible. So I guess in terms, you can eat it. I just
but you
choose
meant
not to. Well, yes, I suppose so. I mean, if you didn't, and I'd make it out of plasticine. But I think the point of this, Meredith, that we've slowly come to is the fact that you can eat it.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. The cakes.
The cakes.
Back in the room.
I personally don't. Especially if I've handmade crafted sugar flowers, I touch that so much.
We've got ADHD, so it's probably best we don't.
We do not need stimulus. I suppose I don't eat cake. I don't eat fondant. If you want to titillate me, get me a packet of crisps.
Yeah,
that's how you do it with me.
And not wanting to get any form of sponsorship, but you love an Aldi salt and vinegar, don't you?
Oh, Aldi salt and vinegar crisps.
The posh ones.
The posh ones, thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
The kettle crisps. The kettle crisps. I have a problem with crisps. I'll go home tonight and I'll stop off and get some crisps. Oh no, I can't because I've already had a bag today.
And a bottle of Prosecco.
Oh. Crisps are terrible. I could not. Sugar doesn't bother me. I could live without sugar, but crisps I'd be upset with if I couldn't have crisps again.
So you get very drunk at like the Marks and Spencer's food PR things and sort of like slate the sweet stuff. Just give me the crisps.
I don't slate it. I just ignore it.
See, I'd be straight in on the sweet stuff.
It's not. I mean, it's supposed to, the fancy little parties, I do like them because actually they're quite nice because they're little amuse-bouches, so I can have those. I think it's just a big slab of cake that I think just doesn't tickle me.
Well, I was talking to Drew Baker and he loves a vol au vent. I love a vol au vent. I think bring back the vol au vent.
Yeah, there's something retro and sort of nostalgic
Mushroom
about
vol au vent.
Talking
retro, because time is ticking. I'm chatting to my lovely friend Craig Kelly on this podcast, and he was in Queer as Folk, which I think is 20 years old last year.
No, it's old.
Is it 25 years or 20? I'm really...
Well, I was the same age as Nathan,
anniversary.
so it's 1998, so it's 24 years old.
Right,
24, yeah.
Right. And we've just had It's a Sin, which you and I watched twice. Didn't we? We loved it so much. Yeah, we loved it so much. Now, how do you... We've spoken about Queer as Folk.
Yeah.
And for me, I sort of now look back and think, God, Nathan was 15 and Stuart was a lot older, and there was a mother
30.
and there was a mother who was allowing it all to go on, but it was so wonderful, as magical and liberating as well. You were the age of Nathan when that came out.
I was 15.
Had you come out? You knew you were gay, but had you come out to anyone else?
I don't think I hadn't come out. I didn't come out till a year later, but that was just to my friends and my sister. No, I hadn't come out, so I was still very much closeted, and I was fresh out of the Mormon church as well. So I was still buttoning up my top button at that point. Yeah, Peter's bumhole was still still in my face. No, I knew this was coming out, and I remember the hype around it, because it was treated with the same sort of level of disgust as the AIDS epidemic. It was it was horrible. You were away.
Really?
You were in Switzerland.
Yeah, well, I was trying to work out. I was either away or pregnant. I was very sort of dissociated from society.
It was awful, because it was being treated like the devil was coming back, and it was coming in the form of Russell T Davies, and he was going to show us sins that would make our children gay. The simple fact is, this stuff went on, and it was just fantastic drama. But I do remember it was being coined as disgusting, vulgar, sinful, which made me want to watch it, which I did. I remember watching it, and I watched it in secret. My mum had a television in her bedroom, and I remember watching it on the television with the same sort of fear as I watched porn. The idea that somebody would come in and catch me was horrifying. But I remember watching episode 1, and we all know about episode 1 because it's the episode where Stuart has sex with Nathan, and there was that
15.
scene with the licking and the... I mean, I suppose at the time, but the fact he was 15 didn't shock me, because I was 15 at the time.
But now they could not do that.
Yeah, I think
Stuart
now
would be a much more predatory. They couldn't have him as a jolly, fun protagonist. Yeah,
yeah, it is. So you have to
He couldn't be likeable.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in terms of how far we've come and how far we've progressed as people, we've recognised that that 15 is too young, and it's not consensual, whereas at the time it was overlooked. And also the fact that they were gay, they probably thought, well, they deserve what they get, And
so was it overlooked,
really
do you think, despite it, the laws being more stringent than
I don't think it was
now?
the fact. I don't remember it was the fact that he was 15. I think it was the fact that it was homosexual men living their lives that bothered people. And that it was. There were sex scenes in there, and obviously there was no penetrative sex that we saw, but they left nothing to the imagination. We knew what was going on, and I was excited by it, because I finally had representation. When I watched it, I thought, I don't want to do that. Thank you very much. Those aren't my people. I don't want to live in a loft in Manchester. I was quite happy in my little town. And so I think it did wonders. And Russell T Davies is fantastic at bringing cultural groups to the surface and showing everybody what is normal. And it was the same with It's a Sin. That was an important... He tells important stories, and he tells the truth. And I think that's what horrifies and shocks people, is this is not a dystopian nightmare. This is the truth, and it's normal. It is happening out there. To say that Heartstopper or It's a Sin or Queer as Folk is disgusting and inappropriate, and yet we were just talking about what the fundamentalist Mormons are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to pick your battles.
Well, I mean, it didn't shock me in the slightest. I grew up with a single mum who had all gay friends. I mean, she worked in recruitment and the music industry, and I was constantly being taken out ice skating by these fantastically wonderful men, and it never even...
You probably had a really classy upbringing, whereas I was brought up in the church and people just kept showing me their bum holes.
I mean, what I saw was probably very different to what went on behind closed doors late at night, you know, in the 80s in London. And obviously I experienced losing people to the AIDS epidemic, and, you know, but I never ever... I was very sheltered in that I'd never experienced homophobia. I didn't know that it even existed. And that's, funny enough, that's what these Mormon girls were saying. You know, they didn't even know that rape existed. They didn't even know what violated meant. And I lived in such a glorious world of everyone just loving everyone and fun. And my mum just used to have great parties. And I didn't know that there were some people that didn't think men shouldn't be together. I was just like, if you love someone, you're just with them. And I think that's a really... And it didn't make me gay. So, you know, all this nonsense, if it's being rubbed in your face, you know, we see enough straight shit and it doesn't make gay kids straight. So, you know, like, where's the logic in that anyway? But so, you know, for me, it was heartbreaking. And then we moved out of London in the middle of everything with AIDS. And that's when I experienced ignorance. Ignorance before homophobia. Yeah. And that was what was so heartbreakingly shown in It's a Sin, is I don't think necessarily Richie's mother was homophobic. I think she was exceptionally ignorant.
I think you have to be careful when we throw around things like words like homophobia and hateful.
Racism.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, there's a difference between struggling to accept something, which is not a sin, and to struggle to accept something that you weren't expecting is not something to be ashamed of.
No.
But to be ignorant to it is. And I think that's what we learned with Richie's mother, was that she was ignorant to him, to his sexuality, to his life, and then finally the disease that killed him, because it was an associated disease. Whereas... And
ignorant to empathy as well. I mean, just very cold. I mean, that was her personality as well.
Yeah. Whereas there are people out there now who are just coming to terms with the shock, because you have to remember, you know, for a lot of people, that, you know, for a child to come out, it's not what they were expecting. It's not what they had planned. And there's no sin or shame in having an ideal life for your child planned in your head, and then that changes, as long as you adjust and adapt and accept that is what. Well, I know.
I wanted you to be a solicitor.
He won't be gay, so you make him a solicitor. You know, I again, Russell T Davies told the truth, and that's what shocked people, is that this isn't fiction. This is the truth. And that's why it hurts. It hurts me especially. I struggled to watch it. It was very triggering.
It was. I mean, I can imagine it was so triggering. And I wanted to watch it for every boy who'd suffered and had, you know, been let down. The casting was extraordinary. I mean, just exceptional. But in Queer as Folk, the casting is also phenomenally brilliant, and that's what completely made it what it is, the iconic series. It's not just the subject matter, it's those characters. They were all so brilliant.
Yeah.
But only one, Anthony, was gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
That's what most straight people were annoyed that it was on TV. Most gay people were annoyed because none of them were gay.
Well, this is what I was going to say. So I mean, I know Russell T Davies has been asked about this, and I think he said at the time it was very hard for a lot of actors I think possibly there wasn't the supply of openly gay actors anyway, and if you weren't,
well, it was professional suicide. If you did.
Even then, you know, it was 2000. And you just think, God, you know. But there's, you know, we know there's still people out there that think that by coming out is going to destroy their careers. And is it frustrating? I mean, Rebel Wilson's recently come out, and there's been a bit of a sort of, there's been an upset amongst the LGBTQ community because it was sort of yet again, like Philip Schofield sort of sensationalised as though he was announcing he was dying. And it's like, what are you there's absolutely nothing, there's nothing to be sombre about. This is fabulous news. Come on. Let's just have a party. Welcome to great taste and, smelling fabulous. And, like, honestly, it's just like, I think it's that sort of...
It's the world of pashminas and candles.
It's glorious. And the way sort of... I don't want to diss it, but because ITV had their reasons, but Holly Willoughby reading it out and everything, I just think it was made into it. I think it was because
Willie
he was
Holloway
married.
dramatising that and turning it into a big thing was the worst thing that could have happened, in my opinion.
Okay.
In my humble opinion, the problem that with that is that it made it a thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and
I
it's
have
not a thing.
maintained this since I was 15 or 16 when I first came out, which was, yeah, I'm gay. Enough. No conversation. No backstory. There's no content to go with it. I'm gay. That's it. You don't need anything more. This is not a big deal. We are not having a coming out party. I mean, do you. I don't care. But for me, the easiest way that we will combat the issue around coming out and the problems associated with it.
Normalise it, yeah.
It's so uninteresting. It's the most boring part of my personality. It's so uninteresting to me. Obviously, it makes me who I am, but people are still fascinated by what's it like to be gay? I don't know. What's it like to be stupid? You tell me. I don't.
Do people actually ask that?
Yeah, genuinely, and it's not. I don't get frustrated because I think it's an innocent question, but I think of something.
Yeah, and I mean, fair play for asking it. It's at least it's not behind your back.
No, ask me the question. I'll always answer a question. I just think, what's it like to be gay? Well, imagine it. What do you think? Okay, I've imagined it. Well, it's like that. You know what I mean? It's so...
Watch Queer as Folk.
Yeah, it's genuinely not interesting. Ask me about cake. I'll talk, I'll wax on for hours. So, less of a thing. And I now have friends who have children who are identifying as different genders, sexualities, and are presenting differently. And the way I handle them is by ignoring it. Changing the pronoun, which is always a struggle for me, not because I don't accept it, it's because I've been brought up to speak a certain way, and it's a switch in language. It's like learning a different language. So yeah, you'll get used to it. I get used to.
When you say ignoring it, you don't mean like ignoring their decision. You mean ignoring the hoo-ha. It's not. Yeah. It's like you don't make
if
a big
you want
deal.
me
It's
to,
like,
if you
cool,
want me
let's
to,
accept it.
Excellent, good for you.
Yeah.
Can we move on now, because I've got far more important things to talk about. I don't give it attention beyond acknowledging it and moving on, because if you make a big deal of these things, then it can turn into something negative. And whether or not the individual is seeking attention for it, it doesn't matter. I don't give it, because I think there's far more important stuff in this world to talk about and consider and be interested in than somebody's gender or
your
fluidity.
Sexual orientation or your gender or your marital status or your relationship status should not define you.
No.
You can be just... I just want people to be whatever, and people don't have to feel like... there's so much pressure, isn't there, with Instagram?
Yeah, I think people think I'm an old grouch and I am a miserable shit. I'm not. But I think people overestimate how much of a shit I give. I genuinely don't give shits. And it's not because I don't like people or because I'm a horrible person. But I've wasted so many years of my life worrying about other people unnecessarily. I hit 35, I'm about to hit 40, and I'm giving less shits. It's not because I don't care or because I don't acknowledge you or I don't think you have a place on this earth. I just don't care. I'm more worried about, have I paid much into my pension? I should probably do that more. Not about whether... Just
an old gay now. An old miserable gay.
I am a miserable old gay, which is fine. That's who I am.
So we should end on...
Before I ruin my career.
Ruin your career.
Please buy my cakes.
No, you're bloody wonderful. We should also say, and I want to put links in the show note, that you're an ambassador for Ask Now.
Yes. So Grassroots is a suicide prevention charity, which is something very close to my heart. I also worked to raise money for the British Red Cross for their efforts in Ukraine. I think focusing on stuff like that is more important than whether or not, or what I'm wearing or who I'm dating. And that's what I would like to become. I'd like to be more Dolly. Be more Dolly Parton.
Be more Dolly. You love Dolly, don't you?
I adore Dolly Parton.
You love her. I was sort of saying that you do get embroiled in sometimes a bit of gayness, which I do love on your Instagram. The perils of now, being openly part of the LGBTQ community. You do get the most brilliant DMs, and I'll never forget the first time you ever came round with a cake for Jeremy, and I asked you if people ever sent you pictures of cakes, and tell my listeners, please, what you told me, which has now spawned a T-shirt, but it's so brilliant, and we all
There's
play
a
it now.
T-shirt coming. You will see it soon.
We all play it. It's brilliant. I can't wait till you get a DM. Please send Stephen DMs.
I play a game with my social media. Please send me DMs, and I want to play the game of cake or cock. And it's quite simple. I think the clue's in the title. So I would get sent pictures by people on social media, mainly Instagram, and it would just be, and it was those disappearing pictures. And I would play the game of, I would play it with a friend, so my best friend.
Because sometimes they were blurred, weren't they?
Yeah. So basically, what you'd get a picture with no context, or it would say, what do you think of this, and. You'd then look at the person's profile, and if it was an open profile, you could sort of go through and see what kind of a person they were, and if they like baking, or they seem to be a bit promiscuous.
Or they were a middle-aged woman.
But then from that, before you opened the picture, we had to guess whether it was a picture of their cake or a picture of their cock.
This is what, honest to God, you may find this offensive, but actually this is what Stephen has to live through every day.
I mean, it's not exactly a hard life.
The perils of a blue tick. Well, yes, generally, everything is nice, cake or cock. I mean...
Yeah, it's nice,
I know people do
on both occasions. I don't want it smashed in my face. It's I don't want it. It's a fun game. Yeah, hot nut in the face. It's a fun game, and I do have it printed on a T-shirt, which I will at some point very carefully put on Instagram.
Yes, we did. For Calling Birds, we printed him one up because it's so brilliant. Because now everyone takes part, and occasionally we'll get a group message and it'll be a screenshot, and it's like, what do we think, gang?
What do we think?
What do we think?
Is it a cake or a cock? And then on the one occasion I had a picture of a man's member with a cake next to it. So we both won. We both won on the technicality. It was cake and cock.
So on that note, you've got your podcast.
Yes,
people can hear your podcast.
Yeah, Feed My Curiosity. So season 2 starts a little bit later this year. Started interviewing already.
Who did you have for season 1? I know, but...
Season 1, so you can still find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So season 1 was Sarah Hadland, Liam Charles, Tara Lynn O'Neill, Dr. Ranj, Nicola Coughlan, Tracy Ann Oberman, Charlie Condu and Prue Leith.
I love them all, but I love Tracy.
Tracy Ann was brilliant.
Tracy Ann.
Actually, Tracy Ann, I love them all, but Tara Lynn O'Neill was a scream. She's just fabulous.
They're fabulous. You must listen to them. Yeah. I actually love it when Prue Leith's husband wanders into the kitchen as well when you're chatting to her, because the premise is you make a cake, don't you?
Yeah.
And you sit and discuss cake and what food means to your guest and
it's for me it is an intimate discussion over cake. So I think cake is universally connects people and joins people. So they select the cake that they want, I make it for them, and then we talk about their relationship with food, and it goes down all sorts of routes. Dr. Ranj's interview is probably one of the most salacious I've ever done. He was just so much fun.
Wonderful.
And it's a great listen. It's 45 minutes. You get to know a little bit more about your favourite celebrities, and there's a recipe as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And we can have cooking lessons. I'm coming, aren't I? Brace yourself.
I am now the resident baking teacher at the Pro Cook Cookery School on Tottenham Court Road. And
fabulous location. I love Tottenham Court Road. I love it.
It's lovely. I love it when people wander past screaming drunks when I'm trying to teach a class. That's always fun. No, it's a great location. It's a fabulous shop.
And how can you book it?
You go online. Go to Pro Cook Cookery School.
Right, and that's on Tottenham Court Road.
Go to the link in my bio. You'll find it there on Instagram.
We'll put it all in the show notes as well.
And then, of course, you can find me chatting with my other birds on For Calling Birds.
Yeah. We're getting ready for season 3.
Season 3.
There's a lot of talking going on.
I know.
A lot of talking going on. Yeah, we love it. It's our therapy. And we're going to do some baking as well. We're going to do some live, you and I. We really are going to. Yes.
Oh, God.
Oh, come on, please.
It was all right for you because you just zone out and wander off and leave me literally holding the mixer.
Literally straight.
On a live show.
You must. You can tell I've had a hobgoblin, can't you? You must listen to, we'll put the link actually to our bake along on For Calling Birds. It wasn't so much me that was the stress.
It was Hayley.
It was Hayley. Hayley.
I thought she was going to have a coronary. She was so panicked.
God, she was brilliant. Natalie was just ticking along, getting it all perfect.
Well, she was shit-faced, didn't care.
Yeah, drunk. And we should just say as well, Natalie is currently filming. We love Natalie. Natalie Spence, who's one of our birds, is currently filming in Spain. But her gorgeous boyfriend is currently in Everything I Know About... Is it Everything I Know About Sex? I always want to get it confused. Everything I Know About Love. Sorry, I'm getting it confused.
Yeah.
God, persona non grata, Woody Allen. No, it's Everything I Know About Love. It's the Dolly Alderton series on BBC and it's on iPlayer. You can binge it. And wonderful Ryan, our lovely Natalie Spence, our other For Calling Birds. Other half is in it and he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's so funny.
He's very good. In fact, the both of them are brilliant. They have the most wonderful characters.
Yeah, they're great on TikTok.
Yes. I'm not. I need to be better. I need to be less of a miserable old cynic.
Are you on TikTok?
I am.
I think
I've only got 2 videos on there. I'm trying to be better. I need to actually put some effort in.
Yeah, no one send any cakes or cocks on TikTok. You won't know what to do with them.
Yeah, no. What, cake or cock?
Well, can you send TikToks to people? Imagine if someone's done you a cake or cock TikTok. Cake or cock TikTok.
Cake or cock on TikTok. Please stop sending me pictures of your cocks, by the way. I know we're laughing, but I literally get nothing from it. Honestly.
If someone's listening to, if they're still listening to this episode,
you know who you are.
But someone's just walked in and just heard you shouting from whatever device they're listening from, please stop sending pictures of your cocks.
I'm going to go Rosemary Schrager. I don't like it.
Well, thank you, Stephen Carter-Bailey off Bake Off.
My actual name.
You're not actually saved as that in my phone. You're saved as the Right Honourable Stephen Carter. Why did we do that? We did that one evening. We were being silly, weren't we? But you've been brilliant. I hate saying that.
Did you choke?
Yeah. You've been a wonderful guest.
Feeling's not mutual, but...
And you can hear us more, should you wish.
If you want to listen to more of this claptrap nonsense.
If you want to relive this, yes. We will put all the links of Stephen's website and the podcast. Well, everything's on your website, isn't it? So it's like the keys to the kingdom. So we'll put those links. And thank you very much indeed. Thank you so much, Stephen. And thank you to you, the listeners. God, that was so much fun, honestly. And the stuff Jeremy did have to edit out as well. So we didn't get sued and cease and desisted. But, thank you. All the information will be in the show notes.
We will put all the links to what Stephen does with ProCook and his recipes and everything else, and the links to our podcast, and keep in touch. Subscribe, like, follow, and share the love. We will be back next time with another Pride special, the one and only Craig Kelly. Until then, take care.
You're listening to the Diary of a Name Dropper podcast. Oh my God.